Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our banter, where we talk about the story Cicada narrated for the week, what parts we liked and what parts we didn't like about it. This week's animal fun fact is the cat in the story being orange and a female is a 20% chance. Most orange cats are male, so that's a pretty special cat who did some pretty devious things.
Yeah, not a great cat. Not a lot of great parents at this farm, huh?
No, I suboptimal parenting skills. I do think a lot of these parents could use some therapy and maybe corrective action, but that's neither here nor there, Cicada. How did you feel about this week's story?
It was it was an interesting story. It was decent, but I don't know, there wasn't a lot of depth per se to the story. It was a pretty surface level horror story.
I I agree with you there. I like the trope of like the animals and people wanting to kill their newborn, and the only way to prevent that is separation. I guess that just leads me to some questions. Is do they have to be separated permanently? Like even if these like piglets, for example, when they grow up, is the mother still gonna try to kill them?
That's actually a pretty decent question because I mean, if that is the case, which I don't think it is because obviously the farm is pretty self-sustaining. They say that they need to have the new offspring to keep the farm going. So I think that once they reach a certain age, they stop. Like it's specifically localized infanticide.
Okay. Because I mean, I believe they said it was only a 40-acre farm, which isn't a lot of space to keep separating generations.
Yeah, you.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, like, if that's the case, do you think Wanda is maybe jumping the gun a bit on wanting to off herself?
No, no, I wouldn't say that at all. Just because of where she's at and how things are playing out for her. Because she says that she blacked out and then was like halfway to killing the kid with a knife. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. And I guess I'm just curious if it's one of those things of if it's localized to the farm or if she were to like leave and stay with her parents till the child is no longer like, an infant and come back, would that work? Or maybe the child stays with the grandparents, or I feel like there's a way to where Wanda doesn't she could remove herself or the child from the situation. Because it's
Yeah,
like the husband knows that this is a problem. And if she were to tell her husband, I feel like they could come up with a solution. Like he wouldn't immediately be like, "Nah, you're crazy."
yeah, I've got a couple responses to that. First and foremost being the husband just he seems stupid in my opinion because you just oh yeah she died at childbirth. Sorry, I didn't have a mom. You never thought to question that. Um, but either way, um, with the whole like finding a solution to this, do you think that if they just walked off the farm, like the second she was onto the road, all those thoughts are gone? Or does this curse follow her since she had the child at the farm?
I don't know. I mean, I could see it both ways. I could see it maybe it's even where you have the child, like where the child's born, depends on where the curse is. I mean, did they have I guess it never says in the story, but I was kind of assuming that they had the birth on the farm. Like they didn't go to a hospital. I don't know why. That's just what I assumed. But I guess, I mean, she didn't, assuming she did it in a hospital, changing it up. I feel like those urges would have started immediately and she would have said something to someone.
She does kind of say that with, friends and family and everybody there, that she's kind of gotten around those urges. So maybe she just wasn't feeling them right away. Um, but I would think that she does. They do have the child like at home, and I don't know. I would say that it's probably a just on the farm thing and just nobody's thinking.
I I believe that. I'll accept that one. And going with it's just on the farm, I do kind of want to believe that if they leave the farm, everything will go back to normal, more or less. And it's just like a site specific thing.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, it's kind of one of those things that it, whether that is the case or not, our protagonist and people weren't quite smart enough to establish the concept of that anyway. So it's a bit of a oh well, we've done what we've done sort of situation.
Yeah, which I don't. I like the story. I like the concept. I really don't like how people are thinking it through. And the ending is also, it kind of just feels forced. Every decision that Wanda made, it kind of feels forced. And I'm just not a big fan of that.
Yeah, nothing really makes sense and nothing really has an answer, so everything feels forced. I would agree with you. Um it all doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and I think that's unfortunately kind of the writer's fault. Um
I I agree with you there. I do think it is a lot on the writer and also just like how they portray their characters. I know Anthony grew up on that farm and it's his family farm, but you've got to think that okay, these animals are killing themselves or they're newborn. Why keep it? Like if this has been happening for years and he's got it pretty well established that it is just this farm. So it isn't like a local area thing. It is specifically this land. Why keep the land? It's only 40 acres, which is still a significant amount of land. But I feel like he could sell that easily enough to another larger farmer in the area who's probably got 100 something acres and start a new life in a new farm.
I would agree, and that kind of leads to almost a question that isn't touched on at all in the story, but was something that had crossed my mind. Do you think that like the men in Anthony's bloodline are cursed, like they have to stay there, and it's one of those where they have to continue to run the farm, and they're just forced to be part of this cycle with both the animals and then the wives that they pick.
That's actually that's a pretty interesting angle to go off of. I I could see it. I mean, maybe like way in the past, one of Anthony's ancestors pissed off a witch and like they were kind of put a hex or a curse on them instead of the land, saying that whatever, whether it be your animals or your wife, any offspring will be killed by its mother. But I feel like hmm, knowing this information, don't you think Anthony's father would have informed Anthony, like, to continue our bloodline, you are going to have to kill your wife after she has a child. Ooh. And then with JJ, I am assuming JJ is a boy. Do you think they're also like the generation? The mother will always have a boy to keep this going on.
That was going to be my question. Was that do you think that also having the boy was part of it as well, and that now he's going to have to live with Anthony, and Anthony's not going to explain it to him, and I feel like that could be out of heartbreak. Like Anthony's father didn't tell him. Anthony's not going to tell JJ, just out of pure heartbreak, but then kind of explain it all. But I also I relish in the fact that he did burn it down. I think that Anthony realizes everything and burns it down and takes JJ and goes and starts a new life.
I I think the complete opposite. I truly think that Anthony, the way he at least described the farm and like full knowing brought his wife there, even though the animals killed themselves, and he kind of like played a little dumb, like, oh, I just figured it would stop since we're starting a new life. Now that we've been talking about this, whole tradition thing, maybe Anthony knew a bit more than he was letting on and knew this was going to happen to his wife. Because he knew about the animals killing their offspring, and he didn't tell Wanda.
Yes, but I think that that was more misguided judgment because Wanda didn't want to be on the farm to begin with. And I think that maybe Anthony hid that fact that way she could fall in love with the farm first. And then after it happened, he could just say, "Oh, I didn't realize that that was still going to happen. I'm sorry, but you already really like the farm, so we might as well stay." And truly, I think that he was just ignorant to it being like a human-based thing as well.
I I don't I understand what you're saying. I don't agree that he was ignorant. No way. He lived in that farm his whole life and fully believed his mother died in childbirth, and not that either his father killed his mother or his mother offed herself. And like, I don't know if he didn't. I feel like Wanda could have told him this. And sure, this is what the note's doing. I feel like there's other ways that don't require Wanda to sacrifice herself at the end of the day. And I'm putting a lot of blame on Anthony.
I totally agree that there was probably way better ways to go about this. The thing is, though, so let's say that they're 27. And then let's say, because I think this story was written in what, 2010?
I believe so, yeah.
It's probably like 2015. Might be 2015. Let's say 2015. So they were born in the early 1980s ish. If it's a home birth and there's complications, it wouldn't be unreasonable for her to have died in childbirth, Anthony's mom. And if that was the case, and maybe Anthony did have doubts at some point, it brings him up to his dad. His dad just is upset and doesn't want to talk about it because old farm guy doesn't want to talk about feelings, doesn't talk about anything like that at all. It just gets put off over and over and over again. And then Anthony eventually gets over it and does believe, because it would just be easier for him to believe that his mom did die in childbirth.
Okay. So it's like ain't you in this narrative, Anthony is going to be the one to break the cycle. That he isn't going to pull the old farm guy trope, that he's going to be in touch with his feelings. He's going to read his wife's note and be like, it's time to put an end to it, burn the farm down, move on.
That is my hope of the story. I could definitely see it go either way. But that's kind of where I thought it would have gone, is that he's like, "Oh my god, I've been lied to my whole life. What's the point? My wife is dead. I hate this place. I'm taking my son and I'm leaving."
Okay. And then I'm spitting the angle of Anthony was in on it the whole time, lied to Wanda, baited her into it, knew that this was gonna happen, and if Wanda wasn't gonna kill herself, he was gonna kill Wanda. Just to keep the cycle going. Also, question for you. When you said this story was written in like 2010, 2015, do you mean by the author or like a date in the story?
By the author, so I could be entirely wrong.
This was written in 2019.
All right, so 2019, say they're 27, so 1912, 1, so like early 90s. Yeah, all right, I guess. Still complications in birth. It's not, it's not, yeah, I say it's not unheard of, but it's fairly unreasonable, I guess, unless they really did it like old farm style way. Maybe Anthony is older. Maybe he's like 35, 40.
Yeah. No, I get what you're trying to spin. I agree with it. I see it as an option. I also am not going to deny that the other possibility is that Anthony's fully in on it.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm digging here. I don't like the concept that Anthony is in on it specifically. I would give you the concept that he's stupid and like was just the folly of man kind of thing. Didn't want to believe it, chose to not believe it, chose ignorance, left on this trip, and then came back and was like, "Oh,
Oh no. Yeah, I don't know. I see both sides. I'm gonna choose to believe my side a little bit more extremely. But I definitely see your angle. And I'm not sure if in like at the end of the story, I forget, does Wanda say like when Anthony's returning? How
the next day."
the next day. Okay, good. Because I'm like, how long is JJ going to be by himself? But I'm glad you remembered it was the next day.
That's still quite a long time because she said that she hadn't fed him since this morning. So
Yeah,
that's probably over 24 hours for an infant to be without care. That's not great.
definitely not great, but Anthony will big dog it, I believe. He's probably got a secret stash of formula because he knew this was coming. Um,
I didn't even think of that.
oh, you want to talk about it more?
Uh, just I mean, just really quickly going along with this concept, not the concept that he's got the secret stash of formula, the concept that he doesn't with the baby. It probably is not going to make it because let's say it's 36 hours from the last time that it was fed to when Anthony gets home. He gets home, looks for his wife, finds her dead, reads the note, freaks out, breaks down, has to then drive to the store to get formula, and then has to come. We're pushing like 40 hours for this baby to be not fed or changed or taken care of at all.
Yeah, no, I he's definitely cutting it close. It's gonna be a filthy baby, very hungry baby. But I think there's a good chance JJ survives. I wouldn't be shocked if JJ doesn't, but I'd say it's about a 60% chance of survival.
I can I can agree with that. But we're getting pretty far into it, so I think we should probably about wrap it up and, get to the ratings.
I think that is a wonderful idea, Cicada. I'm gonna start us off with originally I was gonna give it like a 6 out of 10. I'm gonna probably bump it up to a 7 out of 10. Um, it is that low just because everything kind of feels forced. I gave it a little bit more than I was going to, just because I really am rolling with the idea of JJ, not JJ, Anthony is in on it, and he kind of set up Wanda.
Fair enough. Nah, JJ's in on it too. He's an evil baby.
Evil baby.
Um, yeah, I'm definitely gonna disagree with you here. I'm gonna give it a 5.4 out of 10. It's it's a story, in my opinion. It's very surface level. There's no real depth to anything. It's got good details. That gives it a little bit of edge for me, but it's just not great in my opinion.
That's totally fair, Cicada. On that note, I do think it is time to bar the barn doors, and we'll see all you guys next week.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.